We should have some t-shirts with your picture. I'm sure Joe Bible would have said.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And thanks to Patton for technological assistance. Yes. Our opening congregational song is I Will Let Our Musician, Craig Refuse. Let's welcome Craig.
You're welcome.
And he will announce our first song. Please rise and stand as you're willing and able.
In the new song book, Blue Skies, it's alphabetical. You'll find it right here near the beginning.
So, we are a spiritual congregation philosophically based on existentialist and feminist principles. We make our home in this lovely old stone church, which was built by the African-American Antioch East Baptist Church in the 1920s, more than 100 years ago. We acknowledge that racial hostility drove those African-American people out of this neighborhood, and we honor their legacy and their history in this area. And if you want to know more about the Old Stone Church and the history of this area, we have a member who's part of the Biracial History Project here, and that's Edith Kellman, and she would be glad to tell you about it. And also, we are aware that in the 19th century, the 1800s, that the Muskogee Creek people lived on this land and were forcibly removed. And we honor their legacy and support justice for all Indigenous people. So now I have a little reading for you that relates somewhat to what our speaker is going to talk about. We have all been programmed to respond to the human differences between us with fear and loathing, and to handle that difference in one of three ways: ignore it, copy it if we think it is dominant, or destroy it if we think it is subdominant. But we have no patterns for relating across our human differences as equals. That's Audrey Lorde. So now, if you have any community announcements, would you please put them on a piece of paper? There's paper in the back that you can write them on, and bring them up to me, and in a short time, I will read them. Okay? Community announcements. Are there any newcomers who would like to be recognized? If you would, then would you mind very much standing and telling us your names and how you found out about us? Yes.
I'm Kessler.
I'm Katie. Hello.
Just found it online. First Unitarian. This came up.
Welcome. Any others? Yes, yes.
My name is Anita Epton.
My name is Rick Epton. She's using my
My apologies. And we came at the invitation of our friend Leon Kleinworth.
Thank you so much. Anyone else who would like to be recognized? So, do we also have any birthdays, anniversaries, or anything else that people would like to recognize? Yay! Is it a birthday? January 4th. Andy is a very important person in the congregation. He is one of the people that we count on for technological assistance, and he is also a fine musician.
And graphic artist.
Yes? All right. So now, we would like to have another congregational song here. Is there an announcement? Another congregational song. Would you announce it, Craig?
Yes. Again, in the new song book, towards the end, Redemption Song.
Beautiful, thank you all. Is our fellowship minister here? No, she is not. So, she has COVID, and so she wants your thoughts and good and prayers to pray, and good thoughts and wishes. She's recovering, she's pretty well. So now we have our time for community announcements. If you are interested in participating in an online 6-week introduction to mindfulness course, please contact Lisa Cottrell, hand up there, and the date and time are to be announced. The proceeds will benefit First E, so look for more information coming soon. That's mindfulness. Lisa. The Social Justice Guild will have a meeting on Zoom at 3 o'clock today. If you need a link to the meeting, contact Libby or another member, there's her hand up, or another member of the Social Justice Guild. Okay. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. James Baldwin. So now we have a time of silence. We can sit quietly for a few minutes with one another. There are candles to be lit on either side of the congregation if you should wish to do so. And I will ring the bell when the time of silence is up.
And I put to music a long, long time ago in the 1980s. And, you know, if you know about Brecht, he's very political, but he wrote tons and tons of poetry that was not very political. It was more existential, actually, so. And this is, I've always liked this. I kind of think it fits with the theme today, so. And I really relate to this because it's about being, becoming yourself, especially when you're young and through your life. And you get a lot of pushback from people that don't really want you to be different. This is a song about being different and sticking to your, sticking to it. So. Mounted on the fairgrounds, magic horses, as among the children I pranced by. Bucking hard, we raised our blissful faces to the marvelous clear evening sky. Pardon me, I'm transposing from a different key. Mounted on the fairgrounds, magic horses, as among the children I pranced by. Bucking hard, we raised our blissful faces, the marvelous clear evening sky. All the passers-by just stood there laughing, and I heard them say, just like my mother, oh, he's so different, he's so different. Oh, he's so very different from us. I was the black sheep in my family, so I really relate to that. Seated with the cream of our society, as I outlined my unusual views, they keep staring till I'm sweating slightly. They don't sweat, it's one of their taboos. And I see them sitting there and laughing, and I hear them say, just like my mother, oh, he's so different, he's so different. Oh, he's so very different from us. Up to heaven is one day I'm flying, and they'll let me in, you'll see they will. I shall hear the blessed spirits crying, he is here, our cup of bliss to fill. Then they'll turn their backs and burst out laughing, and I'll hear them say, just like my mother, oh, he's so different, he's so different. Oh, he's so very different from us. I got a lot of stage stuff in my song.
Thank you, Craig. That's such a relatable song, isn't it? Well, our speaker today, I'm so happy to introduce. Loretta Ross is a reproductive justice and human rights advocate who is the primary proponent of the concept of calling in, a technique of including people and drawing them in across differences. I've known Loretta since back in the 1990s when I was in the Women's Studies Institute and she was with the National Center of Human Rights Education, and we met. She has visited classes that I taught and talked to students. She has been at many events. We've been at many events together. She has done workshops in collaboration with First E and with other organizations such as Now and others. So she is an incredible activist. She has worked in the women's movement in the 70s at the DC Rape Crisis Center. She worked for the Center for Democratic Renewal, and which is also the National Klan Network. She worked with Klan people who wanted to leave the Klan, and she talked with them. She has been, throughout her life, a person who has built bridges. You know, I like to think we have people who take their stand and say, here I stand, I can do no other. And then you have the other people who say, yes, here I stand, but I'm going to invite you in with me, or I'm going to try to reach common ground with you somewhere that we can both be together on without losing anything that is dear to both of us. She is the author of Women of Color Uniting for Reproductive Justice, and her latest book, that she's just now doing the proofs on, is simply called Calling In. Oh, and she is a visiting associate professor at Smith College, teaching classes on justice in the age of Trump and classes on calling in, and she has done many online classes, which many of us have taken, on calling in versus calling out. So here we have Loretta today speaking to us on calling in oneself. I'm so happy to introduce Loretta Ross.
I think the mic's on. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me limp on over here. It's absolutely wonderful to see y'all. It's even more interesting not to still be in Massachusetts today. I got out of there just in the nick of time. And so I want to celebrate that it feels great to be home in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I do want to change one small thing about the bio, though. I'm no longer visiting at Smith.
Okay.
They gave me tenure last year. that chose, first of all, they chose to invite me up there to teach a course called White Supremacy in the Age of Trump.
Yeah.
So while all these other colleges are running away from teaching about race and injustice and stuff, here Smith cherry-picked me and said, we want you here, and now we want you here permanently. Wow. Yeah.
And Loretta, are you not the recipient of a MacArthur grant?
Yeah, I got a little grant called the MacArthur.
Yeah.
So, that actually ain't the big news, though. If I can humble brag. Yeah, in March, I'm being inducted into the Winners Hall of Fame. That is not the big news, though. Believe it or not, that's not the big news. The big news is that Serena Williams is in my class. Everybody knows I'm a tennis junkie. And I don't have a long bucket list, but on that bucket list was a chance to see Serena Williams live. And so I'm so excited. I've got family and friends and everybody coming for that. My family isn't impressed on all the other stuff I've done. But when I told them I was going to be with Serena Williams, all of them wanted tickets. Which is fine, you know, whatever moves them. You know, when you're a radical activist, your family doesn't often understand what you do. Yeah. My mother used to say, well, I have one son that's a pharmacist, another one who's an architect, and Loretta, she just doesn't go to jail very often. And it's kind of funny because I've never been to jail. But my mother had this impression that when you do human rights work, you're like Dr. Martin Luther King, you're going to get beaten, you're going to go to jail, and blah, blah, blah. And so fortunately, I was able, when she got off the phone, bragging, I said, Ma, let me tell you what I do. When my mother had started a Black Girl Scout troop in the 1950s because we weren't allowed to join the White Girl Scout troops. And so one of the things we needed to do to earn our badges was cook meals and feed homeless people. Well, community service is really high on my mother's list, right? And so I reminded her, I said, Mom, you remember when we had to cook those meals for the homeless people? She said, yeah. I said, well, Mom, you fed the hungry. As a human rights activist, I just asked why they're hungry in the first place. And that was how I called my mother in. Because I'm living out her values in another way. And I believe we can all do that if we stop reacting to the superficial words that people are using and go underneath and start talking about our values with each other, our desire for peace and safety and health and, you know, kindness and stuff. I think we can transform a whole lot of conversations. But we're used to just reacting to the facade, the identity that we think they have, the words that they use in a way that we wouldn't use those same words, that kind of stuff. And so we keep all of our fights at this level when they need to be at this level. And so that's why I really do believe that calling in ourselves is the most important thing you can do. Most people think that calling in is something you do for somebody else, and that's not actually true. Calling in is about how you want to show up in the world. Because you really don't have any power to control what other people do, but you have the power to control how you react to them. You know, are you going to react to them in a way that displays your integrity or your lack of self-regulation? Because that's really what you're showing. You know, when you call people out, you're telling more about yourself than them. You know, like gossip. When you gossip, you're telling more about yourself than you are to somebody else. And so, as I tell my students in class, you can mean what you say and you can say what you mean, but you don't have to say it mean. That's a choice. You know? If you choose to cause harm, calling yourself fighting for human rights You missed the memo.
There you go.
You have totally missed the memo. Because we can't protect human rights by violating human rights. And I don't care how self-righteous you think your cause is. And so, that's why I really think about calling in myself, which I have to do all the time. Because I have a very quick and nasty temper. I'm a Leo. Oh my God, how did I say that? I'm a quadruple Leo, for those of you who care. I have an uncontrollable ego and a lot of unhealed trauma. So that can make me pounce on people before I think about it. Yeah? And so I'm always having to call on myself to self-regulate. Like, I can't. I just trap the words behind my teeth. That's all I can do. I can't stop having the thoughts, but I can choose whether I let them out. Yeah, and that's the practice that I'm trying to engage in with calling in ourselves. Because we need to also recognize that we often are not in a healed enough space to be in a calling in relationship with other people. Because we do need to prioritize our own healing. You know, you're number one to yourself. You should be the star in your own show. Anybody that wants to argue with that, you need to scrape them out of your life. Because they're not there for you. You need to be there for you. But if you are in that healed enough space where you can build a container for other people to be in good conversation with you, I invite you to learn the techniques of calling in. First of all, let's talk about what is calling in and calling out. So, by the way, I got tired of y'all inviting me to give the same speech every year. I'm like, when are they going to get bored? You know, but that's all right. I'm glad we got a lot of new people in the audience. I don't feel like it's so stale. When I first noticed the call-out culture was in 2015. Because I'm not on the internet. I am, you know, I barely know how to answer emails. Because, you know, I'm a boomer. What can I say? And I'm a proud boomer at that. You know? Yeah. I think the people born in the 1950s was the greatest generation, so that's where I am. Anyway, but I was forced to get on the internet because of my grandson. When he was about 12 or 15, I can't remember the age, he pretended he didn't know how to answer the phone when grandma called. You know how they let the phone go to voicemail? And I had to call him out for that. And I said, baby, I don't know if you realize this, but you're my only heir. And I got a lot of causes I care a whole lot about. So you might want to put a ring on your phone that tells you when grandma's calling. Okay? Just some friendly advice. He did that. But he did also say, well, man, why don't you just get on Facebook? That's where I am. You can talk to me anytime on Facebook. You know how well it worked out. The minute I got on Facebook, he migrated off to TikTok or TikTok, whatever the hell that is. Whatever else was the next thing, he went there. I stayed stuck on Facebook, though, because that's for old folks. That's what he said, it's for old folks. That's what it is for old folks. Because I found a whole bunch of relatives I didn't remember, a whole bunch of friends I'd hoped to forget, and a whole bunch of gossip that I just delight in passively witnessing. But I also noticed how unbelievably mean people were. I am convinced people say online things they don't dare say to somebody's face. So I asked the young people in my life, what is this? What's going on here? And this young woman said, oh, you mean the call-out culture? And I said, you named it? You know, all of this stuff is just going underneath my radar. And she said, yeah. I said, what are y'all doing about it? She shrugged, like there's nothing to be done. It's inevitable. So then I didn't like that answer. Not that I didn't like her, I just didn't like that answer. Because I've been doing, like, at that time, close to 50 years of social justice activism. I mean, I'm a rape survivor that taught black feminist theory to rapists. I'm a black woman who's been a victim of a hate crime, deprogrammed white supremacists. And I've been in the women's movement as a black woman for a long, long time. And I figured out how to have conversations with a whole lot of people I would not bring home for dinner. I was like, so these kids, they got radical politics, but they don't have the practices of radical love. That's the missing piece. Radical love is your ability to love people for their humanity and not only judge them by their behaviors. It's a really important concept. That doesn't come easy, by the way. So anyway, once I figured out that I had something to say, I organized this taxonomy that I call the 5C continuum. There's calling out, which is publicly shaming people for things you think they've done wrong, for which you want to hold them accountable. They also call calling out consequence culture or accountability culture. But basically, you're publicly calling somebody out because you want them to be held accountable. The most important word in that sentence, though, is that you did it publicly. Because you want others to see you holding somebody else accountable. Because you could have just pulled them off to the side and talked to them privately. You could have made them a coffee date and talked to them. You could have done a whole lot of other things. You could have found their best friend to go talk to them. You could have done a whole lot of other things. The fact that you staged it publicly meant that you were virtue signaling. You were showing how woke you are. Much more so than showing how unwoke they are. The ultimate calling out is canceling somebody. That's when you believe they've done something so unredeemable that they should pay a really steep price for that. Like lose their job, lose their platform, disinviting them to speak, or at least lose their reputation. And now we've got all of these poor, sad Republicans, so sad that they're being canceled right now. And I'm like, really? That's a German word for that starts with Schaden something, you know? But still, I don't care for the fact that once a person has entered that cancellation room, their lives will never be the same again. And I want to hold people accountable, but not in such a way that it gives that kind of heart wound kind of thing. It doesn't speak well of me. And I ain't even damn about these people. I do care about what does that say about my integrity that I chose to do that. And then calling in is not the opposite of calling out because it's also an accountability process. But you choose to hold people accountable through love and respect instead of pain or blaming and shaming. And so instead of coming at somebody like, I can't believe you said that to me, you can just come on and say, you know, that's an interesting choice of words you used there. Do you mind if we have a cup of coffee and talk about it? Instead, you're offering people a listening ear and a genuine spirit of inquiry. Because obviously, their lived experiences led them to a different place than your lived experiences led you. And if you want people to take seriously the complexity of your life, take seriously the complexity of theirs. You know, that's how we have to do this. So calling in is something you can always say, and you can always choose. Mainly when people want to operate in good faith. Let's be clear. Calling in is no panacea. It's not to be used with assholes. I have a totally different strategy for assholes. Remember, I fought the Ku Klux Klan. It was cute when you said I was part of the National Klan Network. I was like, ooh, I don't know if they would accept me as a member. Anyway, but yeah, so there's a whole different strategy for people who are proudly in the white supremacist movement. But I think that there's too few of them. There ain't even enough of the magnets to really matter if they didn't have such disproportionate power in our political system. We outnumber them over and over again. We prove it in every election. And then the Electoral College reforms everything and keeps putting them in office. We got numbers, and we got might, and we got right. And so, I'm speaking to the we I'm talking about, the general we. One thing that I talk about badly, well, how can I say that? One thing I gently criticize my students with is their misuse of these phrases like, oh, she's so performative. You heard that one? Oh, she's just being a savior. I'm like, get over yourself. I said, if you were as sophisticated as your cynicism indicated, you'd know that basically you're dealing with three types of allies. You've got your proven allies, the people who are your ride and die friends, you've been through stuff together, you know they always got your back. Then there's your potential allies. Your potential allies are the people who put up a Black Lives Matter flag and that's all you know about. But you actually know the number one thing you need to know about. They ain't in the Klan. Ain't nobody in the Klan ever from a Black Lives Matter side, a rainbow flag, or, you know, nobody is a legal flag. I mean, give me a break. So they're potential allies. They're people you need, you just didn't know you needed them. Right? And then there's problematic allies. The people who think they know everything and they're the hardest ones to convince that they need to know more. But still, they're allies. Because they may be the ones that think, well, working on climate change is the most important thing to do, but I think we're working on abortion rights is the most important thing to do. Oh no, I want to work on religious freedom. Well, I want to work on health justice. I mean, give me a break. So if all of your allies are proven, potential, or problematic, the problem is that you can't do a good enough assessment of who you need to work with. While you condemn them for being, let's say, performative, or what's that other word they used to be, a savior. Because I had to ask this one black girl in my class, I said, because she was using this savior thing, oh, white people, they just think they're all saviors of black people. I said, you'd rather have the other kind of white people? What exactly are you saying? Do you realize how illogical it is? Because there's a concept that I teach in my calling in class called bad kindness. Please give me a time check to be done around my mouth, so let me know. I call it bad kindness. It's kindness done awkwardly or badly. And I'll give you an example of it. I have an online class starting January 9th, which is this week, I believe. At 7 o'clock online. I charge a whole lot of money for these classes, so you may not be able to afford them. They're $5 a lesson. And you sign up on my website by my name, Loretta Ross, and you can join. We got about 200 to 300 people registered this time for this upcoming class. This is actually an advanced calling in class. For those of you taking it in class, we're taking it to another level. We're going beyond calling in 101. We're at 202 now. So, anyway, since I teach online, this one participant in my class says, I'm blind, and I get so offended when people put their hands on me, wanting to help me. But since I'm blind and I can't see it coming, it feels like a physical assault to me. Because I've got these strange hands touching me all the time. And I react very badly to that because it's traumatizing to constantly have people playing their hands on you. So what should I do? How should I call them in? I said, well, first of all, you need to call yourself in. You don't hear that, but that's the way it starts. I said, because you have a choice on how to react to that. And so what I offered her in feedback was that you can thank them for their attempt to be kind. You want to build on that muscle. You want to enforce that message. The second thing you say, but you know, I really don't like people putting their hands on me because it doesn't make me feel very safe. So that's the second step, set the boundary. And then the third step, but if you really want to help me out, this is what you can do. Give them a pathway forward. I believe there's so much bad kindness in the world. People wanting to do the right thing and doing it badly. You know, people want to give you a compliment and say, oh, you're so articulate. Really? But I can react to that way, really? Or I can say, you know, thank you for noticing that I speak English, but let's talk about what you can say if you want to give somebody a compliment. You know, we've got a lot of men that don't know how to give compliments to women because they don't want to put their feet in their mouth. You can tell them how. Like I said, you mean what you say what you mean, but you don't have to say to me. That's the choice. So, you know, build up that kindness in folks. Show them what the boundary is, and then help them figure out how to do it better next time. We can all do that. Instead of just, you know, walking around looking for an opportunity to get further. Make careers out of being offended. Have y'all noticed that? Oh, Lord. Also, in my online class, you know when people are on Zoom, there's a lot of times their background noises because they didn't turn the mics off, right? So there was one participant who had all his background noise on, and I said, would you please mute your mic? And this other participant chimed up, I think mute is an ableist word. Can't you choose something else? See, this is why people shouldn't mess with me. Because before I caught myself, I said, you need to take that up with Zoom. You need to be calling me out in my own calling in class. I actually regret that I responded that way. That was that lack of filter taking over. I had all the power. I could have kicked her out the room if I wanted to. So I did not have to come down like a ton of bricks on her. And I probably made her feel very bad to be called out that way in front of hundreds of people. So I'm not proud that I did that, but that's why calling in yourself is such hard, laborious work, because your first reaction often isn't your best reaction. At least that's for me. So there's calling out, canceling, calling in. The fourth C is calling on. Calling on is what you do when you don't want to invest your time or energy into calling people in or calling them out. Both of those take time and attention, whether you know, either way you go. So that's when you're demanding that people simply do better. Yeah? And you're not taking any responsibility for their growth. And so my favorite calling on sentence is something that we all learn, you know, in kindergarten. I just look them dead in their eye, like they've lost their minds. And I just say, I beg your pardon. And I just wait. And just because you put that pregnant pause in there, they're re-editing the words that just came out of their mouths, because those words didn't land the way that they expected. Now the young people actually have a better way of doing it, but I think it's more snarky. I love young people. Because they look them in the eye, or they say it online. Are you okay? Which is the perfect way to say, I need you to do better. Without actually saying, I need you to do better, right? But it is indicating something's wrong with you that you need to work on. It's the kindest way I heard. Are you okay? Anyway, but that's a classic calling on response. And then the fifth part of the 5C continuum is calling it off. That's when you're choosing to disengage with people because they're not worth your time or energy or your investment. And this could be in person or online. When you decide, this person would rather lie than have a conversation. This person would rather manipulate or call me names than have a conversation. This person would rather cherry pick the facts or not even believe common truths like, you know, gravity and stuff. I always ask these people who don't believe in science if they would, you know, like to jump out of a window and see what happens. That was the old Loretta. I don't know what it takes anymore. sort of wish I could. Anyway, but we should disengage more frequently because we have no obligation to participate in unproductive conversation. You know, what did George Bernard Shaw say? When you wrestle in the mud with pigs, I mean, the pigs enjoy it. And that's been calling it off strategy. So having said all of that, what I'm witnessing now in our society is a lot of hopelessness and despair. That people don't feel that things are going to get better, that we've got these Republicans intentionally fomenting a very toxic atmosphere with their own lack of adherence to, I don't even say that they lie anymore, it's beyond lying. It's about manipulation, it's about denying of the truth. As a matter of fact, I'm convinced that they don't want people to talk about history because they want to repeat it. That's the whole strategy. We don't teach people about history, we can do it all over again. Kind of thing. And what they did to Claudine Gay at Harvard, I mean, it's shameful. Shameful. And I have a lot of respect for that woman because she cared more about the institution than that so-called rich guy whose wife was also a plagiarist cared about the institution. You know, and making use of power to get your way and stuff while you call yourself doing it for the right thing. That guy didn't give a damn about plagiarism. Otherwise, he would have married a plagiarist. You know what I mean? Give me a break. But anyway, and so since people are feeling so hopeless and helpless, it's really important that we learn how to have productive conversations with people and give up the hope or the expectation that we have to be perfectly politically aligned with people in order to have those conversations with them, because that's not necessarily true. And by the way, it ain't even the right way to go. One thing I frequently say is that when many different people think many different thoughts and they move in the same direction, that's a movement. Think about the women's movement. We're not all in the same organization, but we have a shared commitment to end patriarchy. But we express that in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different movements. That's what makes it a movement. But when a lot of different people have one thought, and they move in the same direction, that's a cult. Okay? And so we should stop using cult-like behaviors on each other, thinking like we're doing something radically new, because you're not. You're not. So I want y'all to join me in building the call-out culture. I just got time called on me, so I'm not going to go on any longer. But remember, calling in is not what you do for other people. It's what you do for yourself. And I will close with one of my favorite writers. I love science fiction. I majored in chemistry and physics, so I'm a left brain girl in a right brain feminist movement. We'll talk about that dissonance someday. But anyway, Lois McMaster Bujold is one of my favorite writers. I don't know if anybody else ever read Lois. Anyway, military sci-fi probably is not this congregation. But anyway, I'm quoting Lois because she says in one of her books, your reputation is what others think they know about you. But your integrity is what you know about yourself. Guard your integrity, damn the reputation. Because your reputation will always be filtered through the lens of what they've been through, not what you've been through. And so I want to leave y'all with that. Calling in is what I call integrity intelligence. Guarding your integrity and how you show up in the world. Thank y'all for listening. took it for a good joke, honey.
Thank you so much, Loretta. I could listen to you much, much longer, but I just really always am interested in what you have to say. Even when you teach the same thing that I've heard before, it always has a new spin on it somehow. So I want to thank you so much for what you brought to us today. Yeah. So now we have our closing congregational song, and Craig, what's it going to be?
Okay, in the original song, Pink, I think it's the last song on page 118, Garden Song.
Please rise and embody your spirit as you are willing.
And it's going to start out inch by inch, row by row. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes stumbling down. Pulling weeds and picking stones, we are made of dreams and bones. Feel the need to grow my own, 'cause the time is close at hand. Grain for rain, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain. Tune my body and my brain to music from the land. Your roads straight and long, temper them with prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her love and care. Old crow watching hungrily from his perch in yonder tree. In my garden I'm as free as a feather feet up there. Inch by inch, row by row, gotta make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
One cannot deny the humanity of another without diminishing one's own. James Baldwin. That concludes our service.